do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. Good evening. I'm James Gordon for the Thelemic Order. Thelemic Holy season starts tomorrow with the Equinox of the Gods. Today is the Prologue, so I'm going to take a few moments to talk about the Holy season and about TTO's approach to it. So first of all, what is Thelemic Holy season? Well, it's an idea that was put forward by the College of Thelema, or Temple of Thelema. College of Thelema was founded by Phyllis Seckler, who was actually a part of the historic Agape Lodge from 1939 to 1944. I want to be very clear, I'm not a member, representative, or spokesperson for the College of Thelema or the Temple of Thelema, but I do have a great deal of respect for the legitimacy of their work and for the students who've carried on Phyllis Seckler's work. Today's reading comes from Liber VII, Liberi Lapidis Lazuli, which means the Book of the Azure Stone. Now, this carries a subtitle, being the voluntary emancipation of a certain exempt adept from his adeptship. These are the birth words of a master of the temple. Now, Temple of Thelema publishes a good edition of this, and I'm going to link to it in the comments below because I think it's worth your reading through. I also want to acknowledge that their edition is the primary source of the commentary for my talk tonight. So, Liber VII is going to come up repeatedly in our readings for the Thelemic Holy season, as is another work we're going to hear referenced below, which is Liber 65, Liber Cordis Sente Serpente, the Book of the Heart Girt with a Serpent. Now, one of the things that I think our own heterodox church has been trying to do, and that overlaps with the mission of our initiatory branch, which I'm also going to link to below and talk a little bit about at the end of this video, is to look at Thelema as a complete revelation. Now, most of us are familiar with the writing of the Book of the Law in Cairo, and the 3 days of that are what this holy season is leading up to. If you're not familiar, we'll be covering that a little later in the season. But there's a huge body of Thelemic material that was inspired. And if you credit Liber all, the Book of the Law, as being inspired, then you have to look at the rest of this work. And while you can more or less understand the core values of Thelema from Liber all, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and the idea that every one of us is a star, you can't really get the full initiatory path without a deeper drink of that revelation. So, it's a beautiful and complicated revelation, and it draws a path to initiation in the meaningful sense, whether you pursue that through a group that offers an initiatory path or on your own. So, Liber VII is an inspired work from around 1910. The Temple of Thelema version cites most of the following passage from Confessions, Aleister Crowley's autohagiography, and I'm going to read through the full reading of those. Besides all these activities of my own, I came into a new world. My operation of the sacred magic was not sterile. After returning from Morocco, the Spirit came upon me, and I wrote a number of books in a way which I hardly know how to describe. They were not taken from dictation, like the Book of the Law, nor were they my own composition. I cannot even call them automatic writing. I can only say that I was not wholly conscious at the time of what I was writing, and that I felt I had no right to change so much as the style of a letter. They were written with the utmost rapidity without pausing for thought for a single moment, and I've not presumed to revise them. Perhaps plenary inspiration is the only adequate phrase, and this has become so discredited that people are loath to admit the possibility of such a thing. The prose of these books, the chief of which are Liber Cordis Sente Serpente, Book of the Heart Girt with a Serpent, and Liberi Lapidis Lazuli, is wholly different from anything that I have written myself. It is characterized by a sustained sublimity of which I am totally incapable, and it overrides all the intellectual objections which I should myself have raised. It does not admit the need to explain itself to anyone, even to me. I cannot doubt that these books are the work of an intelligence independent of my own. The former describes the relation of the adept with his holy guardian angel. The latter is the voluntary emancipation from a certain adept from his adeptship, the birth words of the master of a temple. So, the Temple of Thelema text goes on to say, Liber VII depicts a most exalted stage of adepthood and an exceedingly mature relationship between the aspirant and his or her holy guardian angel, the spiritual son of the soul. It is fully described as the birth words of as a master of the temple, and as the voluntary emancipation of a certain exempt adept from his adeptship. So, historically, what does this mean? What is an exempt adept? What is a master of the temple? Historically, the exempt adept grade was a grade corresponding to the Kabbalistic Hesed, or mercy, given the 7=4 designation in the Golden Dawn system, which refers to the Kabbalistic tree of life. Now, if you look at the tree of life here, you can see that above Hesed there's a gulf, or abyss, that marks the transition between all the lower Sephira and the higher 3 Sephira. And in this crossing of the abyss is the process of the creation of a master of the temple. In modern terms, it's seen as a state of ego death, and the term Knight of Pan is often used. So you're going to want to think of that when you hear the Pan imagery. So as we go on this journey together in the next few weeks, you can be aware that's the process we're talking about and celebrating, and in fact seeking to begin creating for you in the readings from Liber VII. Liberi Lapidis Lazuli, Chapter 1. Into my loneliness comes the sound of a flute in dim groves that haunt the uttermost hills. Even from the brave river they reached the edge of the wilderness, and I behold Pan. The snows are eternal above, and their perfume smokes upward into the nostrils of the stars. But what have I to do with these? To me, only the distant flute, the abiding vision of Pan. On all sides Pan, to the eye, to the ear, the perfume of Pan pervading, the taste of it utterly filling my mouth, so that the tongue breaks forth into a weird and monstrous speech. The embrace of him intense on every center of pain and pleasure, the sixth interior sense aflame with my inmost self of him, myself flung down the precipice of being, even unto the abyss, annihilation, an end to loneliness, as to all. Pan, Pan, Io Pan, Io Pan. So, I want to thank you for joining me for this brief initial look, and I hope this gives some outline of what we're actually talking about during the Holy Season. To my mind, and I think by original intent, the point of this season is to stir in each of us understandings and the passions necessary to begin or complete our own initiatory journey, wherever we are on those paths. Now, having mostly said nice things about other organizations, I am going to throw in a plug here. As many of you know, we'll be presenting the Thelemic Initiations for the first time in Baltimore, Maryland, May 13th through 15th, 2022. There's still time to sign up, and over the Holy Season, I'm going to be talking somewhat about the point of those initiations. I'm going to have the link below, and today I'm going to focus on a few points. First, there's no invitational element to these initiations. Anyone who starts them and completes the work and can abide by the basic rules of safety and consent we created to protect the community can advance through the entire system, and these initiations do provide a path to attainment. They don't present a path to secular power, so we don't have to artificially block initiates at a certain point because initiates don't automatically become officers of some sort in an organization. Initiating is initiating. We think by the time people have gone through all the lower degree initiations up to exempt adept, they're not going to want to be inclined to try to initiate higher until they're ready. As for the lower degrees, we recognize that initiation is not always a smooth process, and that there's often some looping back to pick up deeper levels of initiatory experience, and the rituals are designed to accommodate that. So we're not worried that somebody's going to initiate too fast and become insane or any other such rubbish. Second, and I think this is very important for us to say, these degrees are nonprofit. TTO is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation in the United States. The cost for the Baltimore event, which is very inexpensive for any sort of full weekend seminar, covers hotel function space for initiations from 0 through 2nd degree, materials, refreshments, and we'll be publishing the budget. Initiators take an oath not to profit from the initiations, and the initiatory arm charges a flat fee per degree to record initiations. To support the administrative infrastructure, we have to have online services, etc., password protection. There's no higher cost to initiate at a higher degree or anything like that. There's no pyramid structure here. The law is for all, and the only function of these initiations is to promulgate the law and provide a much-needed path to initiation. The reason we have an organization is so that when people walk in, they know that the people presenting the initiation have been vetted for safety, have had some training, know a little bit about first aid, understand the basic principles of consent. There are no oaths to any living human or organization, except for the basic oath to maintain the privacy of the initiation by not repeating its contents verbatim or disclosing the names of any other initiates without their consent. And the oaths are available online. You can look at them well in advance. We don't expect people to make any oaths that they haven't seen. There are oaths about oneself and one's path and one's intent, and we think those oaths are much more important and binding. Finally, these initiations do present a Thelemic path through the Night of Pan to the temple and beyond. You don't have to have faith or belief. To quote, "We place no reliance on virgin or pigeon. Our method is science. Our aim is religion." We believe that as people go through these initiations, their power and efficacy will speak for themselves in terms of real transformation in their lives and magical practice. Thank you. On behalf of Asherah-Astarte Lodge and for the Thelemic Order, wishing you a prosperous and inspirational Thelemic Holy season, I'm James Gordon. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of it.